Hello and welcome back to the Stronghold. I'm the Magi, and it's that time again. It's midweek, and I want you to play some Magic because you can win 2 rare or better ICRs in doing so. This week's midweek Magic asks us one simple question: are you down with the sickness? You see, this week we're only allowed to present a constructed deck using cards from Phyrexia All Will Be One, and that feels like the perfect time to start testing a toxic based budget deck, which is going to rely almost exclusively on cards from Phyrexia All Will Be One. So let's take a look at it. Stay tuned. But before we get into all that, allow me to do the awkward thing and promote the channel. A while back, one of my viewers was kind enough to point out that we are the only channel putting out timely midweek Magic content. So be sure to subscribe right here at the Planeswalker Stronghold for all of your future midweek Magic needs, because we will be bringing you a deck list or strategy every single week. So what do you say we put all this aside and just get to that? Now, travelers, before we dive into this week's Midweek Magic and the deck that I am proposing, come and have a seat with me by the fire and let's talk about the realities of this week. I don't tend to make it any secret that I dislike events like this, particularly because of the disadvantage that they put newcomers to Arena at. There is little to no available cards for newer players. And if you've been around the channel for a little while, you know how important it is that we have and follow a plan. And opening packs or diverting from that plan in some way is not worth the 2 rare ICRs that are at stake here with this midweek Magic. So it's entirely possible that if you're very early on in your Arena career, the best thing you can do is sit this week out and we'll see you next week. It's just not worth the potential value to your collection to get off the plan early on. The cards that you add to your collection during these early weeks are just as much dumb luck as skill. So your best deck this week might look radically different from mine, just based on what you got in those early jump-in events and any drafting that maybe you've been able to do at this point. So again, don't get too hung up on a specific deck. This week is going to be more about playing the cards that you own, because I would not even consider using any wild cards this early in the season, because the next couple weeks are going to fill in most of those gaps on their own. All right, so on my primary account, after just 7 jump-in events and 1 premier draft, you can see I've already got a pretty decent little collection of commons and rares and mythics going. The standouts to me most notably are the Hive, Route Priest, and Contaminator. And that should give me the basis of a pretty decent white-green deck. And when I look at the commons and uncommons here, as you can see, I'm a little tight here, but I've got a lot of multiple copies on things. It's starting to come together as a potential deck. Basilica Shepherd, having all 4 of those this early in the season, pretty awesome. I probably will continue to draft that card, but only because it is so good. When we boil this down into a deck, we get something actually reasonably consistent from what I've tested so far. Some very nice things going on with multiple copies of Complete Devotion, for instance. When we have Rock Priest out, you can just do really silly things here. Only running 2 copies of Basilica Shepherd just to keep the curve down. And we are primarily white, 13 plains, 10 forest, and no double green pips in this deck, which makes it pretty nice, pretty low to the curve. And really, when we get into this higher end stuff, it tends to be more win more. And I think ultimately what I might like to do here is trim the curve down here and just go with multiple copies of things like Rock Priest once they become available. Really tighten this deck up a little bit. Alright, so on my giveaway account, you can see after some jump-in activity and a single draft, I've already amassed a pretty decent little collection of rares and mythics here. And what jumps out to me is Defector Might, the Hive, Rot Priest, and the Contaminator. And it looks like we might have the makings of a pretty decent infect poison style deck. And when we zoom out and look at the commons and uncommons, you see there's quite a bit to deal with here. And even when we just dial down into the appropriate colors of the green and white that we already looked at, there's still quite a bit going on here, quite a bit of potential after only a single draft. From here, I was able to dial in and build a pretty decent, if not consistent, type of green or white infect poison style deck. I'm naming this archetype Britney for the song Toxic. At any rate, it's pretty basic here, but at this stage in the collection, it is mostly just a overgrown limited deck, and that's what most of your beginning budget decks are going to be, as your limited brings your card pool up and allows you to make more consistent decks as your collection grows. Now, when it comes to my most recently cooked up account, my brand new free-to-play account that I've been using since about the end of December 2022. As you can see, I've got a lot less rares and mythics here. The jump-in events were not quite as kind to me because it's a newer account, and I had a lot of potential decks that had never been selected before. So I just wasn't able to get the focus on the one packs like I would have liked. Even when you expand this out to the commons and uncommons, I haven't done a draft here yet, and as you can see, there's no colors here that are particularly deep. For green, for instance, there's almost nothing. So at this time, I haven't done any drafts on this account, and it really shows. Right now, I don't have anything that I think comes together for a deck at all. What I will be doing is drafting this between the time of when this was recorded and when the midweek Magic event will drop. And in my live play event, I will actually start with this account and live build a deck from whatever my collection is at that point. Now, when you're looking at your collection, obviously I think the place to be for constructed in something like this is going to be that toxic, corrupted, poison trifecta there, represented in green, white, and black. But some other decent fallback points might also be a Azorius Artifacts build or a Gruul Oil Counters deck. I think all of these have some higher than average potential to have an impact not only on a very limited event like this, but also standard in general. Hopefully you were able to use these last weekend to jump in on the newly added quick draft events for Phyrexia All Will Be One, and perhaps your collection looks even stronger than mine does at the time of recording. At any rate, I do plan on running the green-white base decks like you saw, although I might add in a few additional cards depending upon how my draft experience went. And as I promised, I will be doing the live build for that newest account on Twitch, assuming that we get a 10 or more likes this week. What's that? You didn't catch all that? Well, Matt would like you to know that any deck list applicable to this video can be found down in the doobly-doo. Hey, let's not forget, the whole reason to participate in these totally free midweek Magic events
is the prize support is awesome.
And don't forget, if this video gets just 10 likes by 8 p.m. tonight on the day of release, I will be live playing this on my Twitch channel. And with all that having been said, don't forget, smash that like button like Ronnie J would. And until next time, I'll see you in the arena.